How many things have you heard about herpes that you're not sure are even true? I mean, let's be honest. There's a ton of misinformation out there when it comes to herpes. The jokes, the myths, the rumors, and most of it is completely wrong. And that's exactly why we need to start talking about it openly. Because the more truth we share, the less fear and stigma there is. When people actually understand what herpes is and what it isn't, the whole conversation starts to change. Hi, I'm Dupree, and I help people to navigate life with herpes. If this is your first time listening to the Herpes Wellness Podcast, I just want to take a moment and welcome you. I am really glad you're here and taking time to listen to this episode because it means you want to learn the truth. Maybe you have herpes, maybe you know someone who does, or maybe you just want to try and understand it better. Either way, you've come to the right place. You may already know some of the facts, and you've probably heard plenty of the myths too. But today, I'm going to separate what's real from what's not, so that you can walk away with a clearer understanding and maybe even see herpes in a whole new light. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. Here are some of the biggest myths and facts about herpes, and we're starting with one that catches most people off guard. Fact number 1, herpes can lay dormant for decades. And yes, you heard that right. Herpes can stay completely quiet in the body for years, even for decades. Some people go 10, 20, or even 30 years without a single outbreak. That's one of the reasons why so many people don't even realize that they have it. I mean, think about that for a second. Decades can go by before it ever shows up. So, if you've ever wondered when or how someone got herpes, there's often no clear answer. After the initial infection, herpes takes up residence in your nerve cells, where it can stay inactive for long periods of time. And then one day, maybe after you experience stress, illness, or changes in your immune system, it can just show up. It doesn't always mean something triggered it in a bad way either. It's just how herpes works. The point is, herpes isn't always immediate, and it's not always visible. That's why getting tested is super important, which leads me to fact 2. Most doctors don't test for herpes. Here's how this plays out. You go to your doctor and ask to be tested for everything, and still walk out without being tested for herpes. That's because most doctors only test someone if they have physical symptoms or if they specifically ask for it. The medical world often labels herpes as a mild infection, which means it doesn't get the same attention as others. But here's the thing. Herpes is one of the most common viral infections in the world. So skipping testing doesn't make sense, especially when you consider how easily it can go undetected. I've seen this firsthand. My partner once went to the doctor and asked to be tested for herpes because he wanted to know his status. And do you know what the doctor told him? You don't need to be tested for herpes unless you have symptoms. When he told me that, I was stunned. That response is absolutely ridiculous, especially when he made it clear that he was dating someone with HSV2. Now, you may have heard doctors that don't like to test unless someone is showing physical symptoms because the IgG blood test can sometimes yield a false positive. And since they don't want to cause unnecessary anxiety for their patients, they opt not to test for it at all. I mean, like, really? Seriously? So possibly causing someone's anxiety is one of the most ridiculous excuses I've ever heard for refusing to give somebody a herpes test. And I've even heard this same reasoning recently from a doctor on another social media platform that I won't even mention here. But seriously, what happens if someone does have herpes and doesn't know it and then passes it on to someone else? That seems far worse than the possibility of receiving a low positive result. And here's the thing. If your test results come back uncertain or borderline, you can always retake the test at a later time to see if your antibodies have climbed above 3.5. The longer the virus is in your system, the more antibodies your body builds as it tries to defend itself. And if you want even a clearer answer, you can always take a Western blot test, which is considered the gold standard for confirming whether or not you have herpes. The IgG test is usually the first go-to because it's more affordable and easier to access. But it's not the only option. So do yourself a favor and get tested. And if a doctor tells you that you don't need a test, find another doctor who actually listens. Fact number 3. Herpes can be transmitted without symptoms. Here's another thing most people don't realize. Herpes can still be passed on even when there are no visible symptoms. This is what's called asymptomatic shedding, and it basically means the virus can be present on the skin even when no sores or signs are showing. That's why someone can have herpes for years and not know it. It's not because they're hiding anything or being careless. It's simply because they've never had an outbreak or didn't recognize one. For people in relationships where one partner has herpes and the other doesn't, this is an important fact to understand. Knowing how it works helps both people make informed decisions about what's best for them. And honestly, that's where real communication comes in. When you understand how transmission actually happens, the focus shifts from blame or fear to awareness and choice. This is where things like daily antivirals, barrier methods, and just paying attention to your body can make a big difference. None of these methods eliminate the risk completely, but together they reduce it significantly. So, if you're ever worried about how herpes spreads, this is the key takeaway. Outbreaks aren't the only time it can be transmitted, but knowing that gives you the power to be proactive instead of reactive. Fact number 4. Herpes is more common than you think. I mean, let's be real. Herpes is one of the most common viral infections in the world. More than half the global population under the age of 50 has HSV1, and hundreds of millions have HSV2. Most people live completely normal, healthy lives and never let it stop them from dating, loving, or doing anything they want to do. What's crazy is that so many people still think of herpes as rare or unusual when it's actually the opposite. I mean, you could walk into a room full of people and easily half of them could have some form of herpes, whether they realize it or not. And that's where getting the facts straight matters. Because the more people learn, the less shame or awkwardness there is around it. It's not a reflection of someone's worth, character, or lifestyle. It's simply a very common virus that most people get through normal human contact, either when they're kids or adults. So whether you have herpes or not, understanding how common it really is changes how you see it. It's not something to fear or judge. It's something to understand, manage, and move forward with. So, now that we've gone over some of the facts, let's clear up a few of the biggest myths that people still believe about herpes. Because honestly, some of these have been going around for decades, and it's truly time to let them go. Myth number 1. Only promiscuous people get herpes. Now, let's get something straight. Herpes affects people of every age, background, and demographic. It doesn't discriminate, and it certainly doesn't define anyone's worth. Herpes doesn't care about your relationship history, your lifestyle, or how many people you've been with. You can get it from one encounter or even while in a committed relationship. And here's something most people don't realize. Children can get herpes too. It's often through something as innocent as a kiss from a relative who has a cold sore, which is caused by HSV1. That's how common it is. It's not always tied to intimacy, and it's not a reflection of anyone's choices or character. Some people even get it while they were in what they believe to be a monogamous relationship, only to find out later that their partner was unfaithful and brought it home with them. It's heartbreaking, but it happens. And it's just another reminder that herpes doesn't always show up where people expect it to. And here's a little known fact. The label of promiscuity actually came from a Time magazine article published in August of 1982 called Herpes, the Scarlet Letter, which tied herpes to sexual behavior. It painted it as a consequence of promiscuity and placed everyone in a single box. Unfortunately, that narrative stuck, And more than 40 years later, people are still repeating it despite everything we know. So the next time you catch yourself thinking that only people who sleep around get herpes, I want you to remember that nothing could be further from the truth. Myth number 2. You can always tell that you have herpes. The reality is that many people with herpes never notice symptoms. Some have outbreaks so mild that they mistake them for something else, like a skin irritation or a pimple. And up to 80% of people never have symptoms at all. That's why testing matters, because you can't always tell just by looking. Not seeing it doesn't mean it isn't there. And that's actually one of the reasons why herpes continues to spread. Myth number 3. You can cure herpes with home remedies or supplements. First, I want to say that there is no known cure for herpes, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing you can't do about it. Some people take daily antivirals prescribed by their doctors, while others choose to support their immune system naturally with things like L-lysine, monolaurin, oil of oregano, and black seed oil, which may help to reduce outbreaks and the severity of symptoms. You'll also hear about other remedies, supplements, or diet changes that claim to cure herpes, but none of it's true. What's important to remember is that managing herpes is completely possible. You can live a full, healthy, and amazing life with it, and close to 1 billion people do every day. So the goal at the moment isn't to cure it, it's to keep it under control and reduce the chance of transmission. And finally, myth number 4. People with herpes can't find love or have relationships. Now, this is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. People with herpes date, get married, have families, and even maintain healthy relationships. It's certainly true for me and for millions of people living with herpes. What makes all the difference, though, is awareness and communication. When both partners understand what herpes is and how to manage it, it just becomes one small part of the relationship and not a barrier to it. For example, my partner doesn't have genital herpes, and we make decisions together when it comes to navigating it. I take daily antivirals to lower the chance of transmission, and sometimes I'll even take a break from them to give my system a rest. If I experience an outbreak or prodrome symptoms, we either hit the pause on intimacy or use other methods of protection when needed. The reality is that herpes doesn't stop people from building meaningful relationships and being intimate. What actually gets in the way are the limiting beliefs people carry about it, which includes the stigma, the fear of disclosure, and the fear of rejection. Now, I know this firsthand because I didn't put myself out there for a long time and allowed those same fears to hold me back. But when I finally changed how I saw herpes, when I realized I get to choose how I experience life, that herpes doesn't control me, and that every no was just leading me close to my yes, everything changed. And if you want to learn more about how to take your power back from herpes and attract the kind of love and connection you actually deserve, check out my podcast called Finding Love After Herpes. You'll find the link above. And in that episode, I share the practices I put into place that helped me to rebuild my confidence so that I was able to open myself up to finding love again. Well, that's all I have for today. If you liked today's episode, please like and subscribe to the channel. Also, I want to invite you to join our free online community by downloading the Herpes Wellness app. There, you'll have free access to our forums where you can ask questions, seek advice, and help other members along their journeys. And for limited time, anyone who signs up for the free support membership, we're going to upgrade you to the Connection membership, which includes access to a whole bunch of cool features, like a listing in our member directory and member search, direct messaging with other members, a group and love connection chat lounge, member-led events, both virtual and in person, plus monthly live streams with me where we talk about everything herpes. Normally, this membership is $19 a month, but you'll get this access for free for as long as you remain a member. And if you're wondering about privacy, we've got you totally covered. The app icon and push notifications say H Wellness. So if someone happens to see your screen, you won't disclose your status unintentionally. So be sure to join us at Herpes Wellness. The link to download the app for both the App Store and Google Play is in the description box below. And if there are any herpes topics you'd like for me to discuss on the show, please leave it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you the next time on the Herpes Wellness Podcast. Bye for now.